Hello and welcome to Guy Logic Gaming. My name is Temco and this is Planescape Torment Enhanced Edition, the remastered edition of the Planescape Torment game from 1999, brought us by Beamdog, which are the same developers that brought us Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale in the last couple of years in the same way and fashion. It's coming over on Steam on April 11th for the price of €20 or your regional equivalent. And what does the game really do? Now, unlike most remasters, this game does not touch anything gameplay related. So the quests, content, everything in the game is identical to the Planescape Torment you could buy in a boxed copy should you find it somewhere in a dusty cellar. Also note that some of these changes are already available in things like the GOG version, but not all of them. So what the developers here have done, they have improved some technical things such as bugs and stability changes on top of adding modern day support for things like frame rates and different types of resolutions. Then they've gone into the visual side of things and improved some general quality of life themes to just bring the game forward a little bit, and then they've taken a look at gameplay changes in terms of things like auto-loot or tabbing to highlight. Overall, they've really shied away to the benefit of the title from touching any of the content. This doesn't mean there weren't some areas where I felt they could have spent some more time and attention to really bring the game up to a 2017 standard. So what did they change, what did they do, and how is it going to pan out for Planescape Torment Enhanced Edition? So let's start from the top and start about the most important thing, which is technical stability for the new released version. Planescape Torment always had a couple of gnarly bugs here and there that were never really fully resolved, even with community updates and various mods available. As far as I can tell, over a course of 3 or 4 save files provided by the developers for reviewing purposes, as well as about a bunch of hours of gameplay for myself and my dusty memories of 20 years ago, the game is exceedingly stable. I've not had save corruption, I've not had crashed desktops, I've not had any quest bugs or item bugs appear anywhere so far, and that is a very good thing. Actually, it runs better than the original does, which is fantastic. On top of that, they've taken a good solid look at what kind of things people expect in a current day game in terms of visuals, in terms of rendering, and in terms of resolution support. So now the game supports up to 4K resolution, and while it isn't perfect, especially on the sprite side, which I'll get into in a little bit, it is still miles ahead of any other version available now. Also, the frame rate, where the game originally was locked to 30, you now have the option of unlocking 40 and 50. This is also a little bit weird because where's 60 or 120? Those are some strange abilities to open the frame rate to 40 and 50, but not 60, which is a normal cut standard frame rate. I'm not sure what they were thinking in regards to this specific frame rate point, but that's just a little bit weird. So I've left the video on 30 in this case, but do note you can add it to 40 or 50, just so you know, benefit to that over a regular 60, which is a nice low cut for response times. Again, not the greatest thing in the world because the game isn't fast paced, it's not a Twitch-based shooter, it's a CRPG, so it's not the end of the world, but still it's a little bit strange. As I said earlier, resolution support for high-end resolutions you could always get through community support in a bunch of different ways, but there was one issue you could never tackle with these community kind of things, and that's also an issue the current GOG version greatly suffers from, which is the improvement in UI readability. Planescape Torment always has been a CRPG about reading, about text, about figuring things out from clues, from different murals, from things you see and experience and read in the world, and when you can read that text in a high-end resolution, the game experience really suffered. So one of the most important changes I feel they've made is improved text readability across the board to be very smoothly readable, adjustable in the options menu for your own font size, across a whole wide set of resolution options, including widescreen support, which is phenomenal. So on the technical side of things, they've squashed bugs, they've added modern day support for resolutions, even though they are not editable in the options menu, which is a bit of a negative mark, but not the end of the world in this specific situation, and then improved readability for all the texts and stuff like that. And then they went ahead and did some changes to the visuals of the game. And what do I mean by this? Outside of changing the way resolution works, you have to scale up the game to fit into that resolution. The original Planescape Torment rendered at 640 by 480 maximum, which is a very tiny resolution compared to modern day standards. This means that if you render the game on a modern day resolution, you either have to stretch all the pixels up or you have to zoom everything out. The developers have chosen on a sort of dual approach to this, in both zooming things out to show more of the world you're standing in around you, as well as zooming in a little bit on certain areas in terms of changing pixels. This has a benefit and a negative. The benefit is that Planescape Torment was always a very gorgeous game in terms of world building, art style, and visuals. It oozes personality and everything feels vibrant and alive, even in areas where, well, it's all death and gloom. It's a fantastic looking world with a fantastic amount of vistas and scenery to visually explore or even explore as a character, so seeing more of that anytime on your screen is never a bad thing. But they've also done is sort of scaled up the various models for various characters, and they've sort of had to stretch things out a little bit here and there for the highest end resolutions, which is about 4K or 1440p. Now, while the game doesn't look as great on those resolutions, it still looks miles better than the original resolution did. So that is in net a benefit. It just could be a little bit better in my opinion. Having said that, there is a couple of issues I have with the way sprites and animations go. Now, they haven't touched any of the animations in the game, not for combat, not for movement, not for interaction, and that is both a benefit because it still feels very like the original. It's also a deterrent because the animations are very choppy. Now, originally, in a game that you zoomed out so far and the pixels were so dense on a small monitor, like I said, 640 by 480, choppy or low frame rate animations for characters and sprites you could get away with. For sprite animation, yeah, sure, Zelda on the Game Boy could get away with it. But current day Zelda couldn't. You need smooth transitioning animations, and the game doesn't have those, and they could wrangle out whatever they wanted from that, but the original animation that did not have that range did not have it covered, which also means that the animations for both combat and movement feel very choppy, as if you're playing at 10 FPS instead of the 30, 40 or 50 you have enabled. And that is a deterrent, but again, we're looking at a game from 20 years ago, so it's a very minor deterrent because you're still playing this game that is still a fantastic title. Having said that, they've done some stuff here and there, such as allowing outlines on sprites, allowing you to sort of change your zoom level a little bit, and things like grayscales and pause and sprite scaling and viewport scaling to really improve the visuals they can. This doesn't change that the sprites and animations look blurry and blocky, but it is still miles ahead of anything else currently available. Then, lastly, they went ahead and touched the gameplay. Now again, they did not touch any of the quests, they did not touch any of the stories, they did not touch any of the dialogue. By gameplay, I mean they did some quality life improvements to bring this game forward from 1999 into 2017. And they didn't get all the way there, but they got very close. Quality life improvements we'd expect, things like auto loot when you click on something, or tool tips when you hover over things, and help tips how to learn the game, what certain menus do, what they mean, and even things like tap to highlight interactive objects, were things we currently expect. If Tyranny or Pillars of Eternity launched without these features, people will be in an uproar. They're missing core basic functionality we expect in current day games. And Beamdog has gone ahead and did that for the Enhanced Edition in various different ways. Things like grayscaling the game on pause really shows that the game is paused. You know it's paused because it's all gray. Outlining things on sprites for more visibility. It's very good. Things like smoother transitions that slowly fade to black and show the destination you're going to on screen. All of these minor things that generally just make the game feel more smooth and the experience nicer, they have done. They haven't gone all the way though, and again, I boil back down to the issues I have with the animations, which is the only real issue I have, and I feel the developer should have spent more time and more effort on improving fluidity of animations in this world. Because right now, while you're playing the game, it feels more like a 2012 release than it does a 2017 release. To be fair, it's also priced at a much lower price point than competing titles. So overall, not a bad deal at all. And if you've played Planescape Torment previously, whether it is 1999 or in the intervening years, you'll know that this is a fantastic title and a progenitor of this genre in many different ways. Lots of games have taken ideas and cues from this game and built on them, and many have never gotten even close to competing with this game, let alone surpassing it in the last 20 years. And as a PC gamer, in my personal opinion, you owe it to yourself to at least have played Planescape Torment. But I'll be honest, I too was apprehensive looking at the GOG version and having to go to community guides to get the game to run on my modern system. Hell no, that's way too much hassle and effort, and I don't have the time for that. So for me, and others like me, who may have never played the original game because they were too young or just didn't care at that time, can play this enhanced edition that works out of the box and gives them a bunch of quality life improvements and improve the gameplay experience overall. Nothing really I could complain about in that regard. But we're here to critique, and so we shall. As I said earlier, the animations are a major issue, and while they have done a good job on them, there are a couple of other areas where I feel they could have spent a little bit of extra time to polish and improve the game overall. That is especially evident in the options and the UI of the game. Things like equipment, things like explanations regarding items, things like UI elements, buttons, icons, and interactive elements you have in the game always just feel a little bit too clunky compared to modern games. And this is the case for Planescape Torment. The UI is a little bit clunky, equipping items just isn't as smooth, picking a fight with something isn't as smooth, running away just isn't as smooth, and it's these sort of outdated ideas and mechanics that do keep the game from being excellent in a current day setting to just being exceedingly good of a remaster for an excellent game. I have no issue recommending this game to you. If you've never played Planescape Torment and you like games like Tyranny and Pillars of Eternity, then this is a no-brainer. Pick up Planescape Torment, it's excellent. If you've played Planescape Torment in the past and are reminiscing on the good old days, but your current computer is just too modern to run that game, and you don't have the 10 hours dedicated to trying to figure out how to get it to run on a modern system, then by all means pick up the game here on Steam for the Enhanced Edition. And if you have the GOG version of Planescape Torment, and if you're wondering if this version is a net benefit to buy it because you may have had some stability issues with that version, that too I can attest that this version is infinitely more stable in terms of technical prowess, modern resolution, as well as modern input support for your gaming experience. Overall, I have very few things to note here outside of the actual game itself, so as an enhanced edition and not a full remake of the game, this is an excellent proposition and deserves your attention. So the game comes out on Steam on April 11th and you can check it out in the link below. And if you like this video, press that like button. If you didn't like this video, there's a dislike button for exactly that purpose. And leave a comment. Tell us your favorite memory of Torment and tell us how you're going to plan on recreating an enhanced edition 20 years down the line when you have barely remembered what it was. And if you want to see more content like this on the channel, just press that subscribe button down below and we will deliver. Until then, I wish you a good day and until next time, right here on Guy Logic Gaming.